When you sew a sleeve in flat, it means that it has a drop shoulder armhole and that there's very little curve in the sleeve. Create easing stitches. You will create 2 rows of basting stitches together. Typically these are done between the front and back notches on your sleeve, and they are done within the seam allowance. So the first one I did at about 1/4 of an inch. This next one I'm doing, my seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch on this. The next one I'm doing at 1/2 an inch. You do not backstitch at the beginning or end of your basting stitches. So I've gone and already pinned my sleeve in place from the notches to the side seam at the shoulder seam, and then the other notches to the side seam. Now I have all this excess here that needs to be eased in. So to do that, take your threads from your basting stitches and pull them to gather this a little, spreading it out until the sleeve is the same, the sleeve cap is the same length as your opening. So I pulled a little too far. Now they're about the same length, so all I need to do is pin that side. To secure these basting stitches from moving anymore, you can make a figure 8 on this needle that's right by them, and that will keep them from moving anymore. So then on the other side, pull your basting stitches or hold them and just move the fabric along until you're able to do the same thing on this side, making the sleeve cap match the arm opening. To keep these from moving, I'm going to make a figure 8 around this needle. And then now I just need to take it to the sewing machine and stitch my sleeve to my garment. Now I'm going to sew the sleeve on. Right now, this is the point where I have the figure 8 of the threads. I'm going to let that go and pull the threads out of the way so that it's easier to pull out those basting stitches later. I will do the same thing when I get to the end of the basting stitches. As I'm going, I'm feeling to make sure the bottom layer is flat, and I'm adjusting everything as I go. You want to sew slowly so that you don't have to go back and undo anything. Now check to make sure there's no puckers anywhere. Once that all looks good, you'll want to remove your basting stitches and then finish your seam allowance and press your seam. So on the other side, I've already gone and finished off my seam allowance and pressed, but I'll show you how to press really quick. When you sew your sleeve in flat, using a ham to press the seam allowance towards your sleeve makes that a lot easier because of the curves. So I have my sleeve on my ham and I'm just pressing my seam allowance towards my sleeve, aligning the curves of the garment up with the ham. This part of the sleeve, I'm just going to place it this way, more like a natural shoulder. Then turn it again the long way, like the back of your shoulder is. And now the seam allowance has been pressed away from the body towards the sleeve. So all I have left to do is sew the side seam and do any finishing as required on the end of my sleeve and the rest of my pattern.